Hi, my name is Keith Folse, and I'm the author of a new book by the University of Michigan Press, which is entitled Academic Word Lists: What Every Teacher Should Know. I have been a teacher of English for 40 years now in the United States and in several foreign countries. My students that I teach now are trying to enter a university. They need academic language. It is impossible to do well with academic language if you don't master the vocabulary that you need. And so this is the problem that faces our students and therefore us as teachers as well. The question is, how can our students master a lot of vocabulary for an academic purpose efficiently, quickly, and well? One solution is a word list. So in this book, I talk about not just word lists in general, but academic word lists. It is no accident that the title has a plural noun in it, lists with an S, L-I-T-S. In our field, many teachers are familiar with the academic word list, or AWL, developed by Averell Coxhead in the year 2000. And at that time, that word list was revolutionary because people weren't using word lists and people really didn't understand the concept of how that word list was put together. But now we appreciate it tremendously. And 2 decades later in our field, there is not just one AWL. There are in fact dozens of word lists. And in this book, I talk about how the AWL was put together and the words that are in it. But I also talk about some of the other lists that are now competing with the AWL. Teachers today need to know there is not just one academic word list. There are in fact dozens and dozens. And teachers should find out about these other lists, how they were put together, and there is a good chance that some of these other lists are in fact better and more useful for the teachers of that particular class because this list will help those learners better. In this book, I answer 3 questions, and the 3 questions are the questions that I get asked the most frequently when I do workshops across the world. The first question that teachers ask me invariably is, which words should I teach? And I explain why it's difficult for me to say because I don't know who your students are. Are your students trying to do well in a high school reading class? Are they trying to function in freshman composition at a university? Are they trying to write a thesis in one of the sciences? These 3 language purposes are very different. And I would hope that you would have a word list that changes somewhat according to this need. The second question that teachers ask me is, once I explain which words students might need and how a teacher would go about identifying those words, or a researcher could identify those words, teachers ask me, well, do you have a list like this? So I'm trying to teach a high school reading class and we're doing social studies or we're doing history. Is there a list for those students? Is there a list for my students? And can you help me find that list? In this book, I talk about which words we should focus on. And then I very quickly move to the different lists. And yes, I can help you read information, understand the information better about the different lists that are available in our field today. And I'm sure that one of those lists would be really good for the kinds of students that you teach. The third question that teachers ask me is, okay, now that you've helped me find the words and you've been more specific and helped me find not just words in general for a high school social studies class or a university science class, but an actual list of 3,000 words or 800 words. Now that I have this list, what do I do with the list? And what do I tell my students to do with this list? And those are 2 questions that are related but different. And in this book, I offer a section that has 10 suggestions for teachers and learners discussing ideas, practical ideas, for what teachers and students can and should do with an academic word list. I have taught, as I said, for 40 years, but another part of me that's important and plays a role in how I've written this book and why I've written this book is the fact that I've been a language learner as well. I've studied 6 different foreign languages, and I'm very familiar with 2 things about learning a foreign language. First, vocabulary is crucial. You can't function in any language, let alone an academic setting, if you don't have vocabulary. And the second thing is you need lots and lots and lots of vocabulary. If you think about the learners that you've taught who have been most successful, who seem most fluent when they speak, or who can write really well, I'll bet those are the learners who you would say have a very extensive vocabulary. How did they get that extensive vocabulary? Whatever they did, these are strategies that other students can do as well. So to summarize, in this book, Academic Word Lists, I talk about a variety of different word lists that are available for ESL and EFL teachers who are teaching students for academic purposes. And then I also discuss different ideas and techniques that are practical and can be used by all teachers and all students to help improve their academic vocabulary. I hope you enjoyed the book as much as I enjoyed writing it. I think these ideas are very useful for teachers and students. Thank you.